Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. In today's talk, I want to give you another update on the current situation in Germany. It is, in a way, a follow-up. I will touch on many different topics. It is a follow-up to stories I presented in previous videos. To make it short, to sum it up briefly, Germans are getting more and more pissed. They are losing patience with our government, with our self-described elites, and that is one of the reasons, or actually the main reason, I think, why we are seeing many anti-government protests again in Germany. The main one on the last weekend was in northern Hesse, in the city of Kassel, and in Berlin. A lot of people would come to Berlin, but not so many people showed up there. The main one was in Kassel. So first I want to describe what is going on at the moment, what happened, and then we can look at some pictures maybe from this protest. And by the way, check out my Telegram channel because there I posted a video, or I linked one. Miro from the channel Unblocked was making a really great video from Kassel. Looks really nice and you guys should check it out. On his video you get a really good impression of how it was on the weekend there, I think. Alright, so let's deal with the first topic, and that is corruption. I told you that a lot of politicians at the moment came out, or they were found out, to have personally enriched themselves using our so-called health crisis as an opportunity for personal gains. They were using their influence and their positions of power in order to get, let's say, consultancy fee for establishing contacts or for facilitating public deals between our state and mask manufacturers, but also between companies in Germany and Chinese mask manufacturers, for example. And they got really high fees for their services, right? But there are more cases and many more suspicious cases at the moment. The most prominent one is our health minister once again, Mr. Spahn. It was revealed recently that the company that his husband is working for as a lobbyist, I believe, was selling masks to our state, to the health ministry. So I think our health ministry bought 500,000 masks from the company that the husband of the health minister is lobbying for. Okay, so maybe he didn't personally gain from that because he doesn't own the company, he's just an employee of the company, but nevertheless, he is a high-level employee, and I think it needs to be investigated whether or not he had some gain or vice versa. Maybe the health ministry got a favorable deal or something like that because the husband of the minister is working there. Anyway, I think the authorities should look into that, and the public has their suspicions, of course. I have mine also, as I stated, and it needs to be uncovered if there was any foul play going on here. And as long as we don't know it, we have to assume that there was in fact foul play, because that just stinks of corruption. As a federal minister, you should be more careful than that, and your family members or spouses or toys or whatever, they shouldn't really interfere with your work, and they shouldn't be included in any deals of the ministry, of course. So this is one thing. Another thing is that now, as the numbers are rising again, they want to, and they, by the way, that is the federal government, that is Angela Merkel, and also the governors of our federal states, they want new lockdowns, very severe lockdowns, and they also discussed that Germans should not be able to leave Germany anymore. They want to discourage or even ban Germans going abroad. And that is something that is very reminiscent of the Eastern German Republic, the GDR or DDR. They had something called Republikflucht, that means escape or illegal escape from the Republic. And that was, of course, a very severe crime, and it was punished. So there are many people, but a very prominent voice, the former figure skater Katharina Witt, she said that, life in Germany reminds me more and more of life in the GDR. She is from the East. And also, as you guys know, the Easter holidays or the Easter celebrations are coming closer and closer right now. And what they decided on the weekend was that the days around or before Easter, actually, the Thursday and the Saturday before Easter Sunday, that they should be declared days of rest or something. And stores should have been closed down, and also supermarkets. And with all these holidays, then that would mean that on Wednesday, next week's Wednesday, would have been, according to their plan, the last day where you could go shopping. So yeah, of course, people, they expected then many people rushing to the stores, long lines probably, because they cannot open on Thursday and Saturday. Friday is a holiday anyway in Germany. And also, they don't want really people to go to church, and they don't want people to visit their relatives. So Easter holiday or the Easter celebration for Christians would be cancelled this year. That was their plan. They received a lot of backlash for that, and now they apologized, and they, well, I don't know about the visiting of the relatives, but these days of rest, this is off the table, as I have learned right now. So the stores will be opened on Thursday and Saturday. But nevertheless, new severe lockdown restrictions are coming right now. And the lockdown that we have was also prolonged until the middle of April. And after over a year of lockdowns, Germans are really tired of that. It obviously doesn't help. It obviously doesn't really change the situation. But our whole industry, our whole economy, especially small companies, small businesses, they suffer from that. They will all go bankrupt, and our government doesn't care. They give huge handouts and a lot of taxpayers' money to US globalist corporations, whereas small German business owners are left in the rain. The difference is that the small German business owner or the mid-sized family business owner actually pay taxes in Germany, whereas these globalist corporations didn't. They all have their tax evasion schemes with mailbox companies somewhere. So even though they have a lot of turnaround and make a lot of profit in Germany, they don't pay any taxes. Of course, you can say that's the politicians' fault, but well, that is the fact. At least they shouldn't get any help from the German taxpayer now. And then, of course, on top of that, we have a journalist class. We have these state or public media people who are writing vicious and nasty articles about German people. If you have a different opinion, if you do not agree with the government, these journalists, they say that the state should come down with full force on these people. Let's take an example, the protests from the weekend. It was, as you can see on the video and on the images, a very cheerful, peaceful gathering of Germans, and they celebrated, they listened to music, they were shouting some slogans, but they were very, very peaceful. And once again, I have to say that this is a very heterogeneous bunch. It is a very diverse group. It is not one group. Of course, the organizers or the main group, they are from the southwest. They are a group called Querdenken. Quer means as much as perpendicular or not aligned, and denken means to think. So that means their thinking is not aligned with the mainstream. They don't think in the same direction as everybody else. They think, that is what they say about themselves. This is what their name says. They think in another direction. They think for themselves. That's the main idea. Now, most of these people are very progressive, tree-hugging, hippie type of people, and if you just read the mainstream media articles and the state media articles, you get the impression that they are hardcore right-wingers, which is, of course, ridiculous if you look at these people. They are clearly leftists, they are clearly hippies, but that is what these journalists still haven't understood. What we're having here, this opposition group that developed now within the last year is a Querfront. Quer, yeah, it's already in the name. That means a new situation arises, a new topic that wasn't really discussed or handled before, and the classical political camps that you have, the left and right and center and socialist and liberal, when they discussed about, should we raise the taxes and have more welfare, or should we, reduce the taxes so that companies can thrive, that was a question where the old classical camps, they were perfectly aligned and everybody knew where everybody else stood on the issue. Now, however, this new question, like should we shut down our entire country because of something that is a little bit like the flu, that is a question that we were not dealing with before. And that means, surprise, all of a sudden somebody who previously was in my political camp stands on the different side of the issue in this new question. And that happens left, right, and center, of course. So labeling them as right-wingers is absolutely ridiculous. Most of them are actually leftists or liberal people. Like you see the Guy Fawkes masks and the Don't Tread on Me guys. Of course, there are some right-wingers there, but they're a minority because these right-wingers, they also disagree with our government and they also want to articulate that in a peaceful way during these protests. And then you have, of course, esoteric guys who believe in alternative medicine and religious stuff, okay? Yeah, basically crazy guys, but they look kind of harmless to me, to be honest. They're probably for open borders and they believe in homeopathy. And they probably have sleepless nights over the poor dolphins who suffer from plastic in the oceans. You're a classical right-winger, obviously. Anyway, so these journalists, they are saying now that the authorities, they were too soft to these demonstrators in Kassel. They should have used everything at their disposal, like the water cannons and sticks and gas. No, the police actually was very, they had a de-escalation strategy, I think. They didn't want anybody to get hurt, and I can perfectly understand that. The authorities in Kassel, they did the usual thing once again. Instead of just allowing the demonstration as it was, as our constitution actually is ensuring us that we can do that, no, they didn't do that. They also didn't straight out ban it, because that would have been unconstitutional, right? They did the sneaky thing once again. They said, there is this little square somewhere outside of the city, and we allow 6,000 people to be there. Not more than 6,000, and somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But of course you have the right to assemble, but we tell you how many and where. The next thing is that they demand them to shout a certain slogan or something. They can only demonstrate if they say, I love Merkel, I love Merkel. No, that's a joke, of course. But seriously, if you protest against the state shouldn't have the right to dictate how many of you can do it and where they can do it. So the authorities said that in the end it wasn't 6,000 people but 20,000 people. And this is why these journalists and these leftist so-called elites are running amok now, and they're complaining that the state should have ensured and enforced these rules that are unconstitutional, by the way, but they still are really angry about that now. And they say that the officers should have really used heavy force against these protesters. Very interesting how selective their outrage is, or the problem they have with, let's say, force on the side of law enforcement, depending on who is targeted by this force. Especially if you consider who is actually a peaceful protester and who clearly isn't. Alright, so this is my little summary from the situation in Germany right now. I'm sorry that I was a little bit late on that. I had a little bit computer problems, some tech issues, but I could resolve them. I organized some backup here. And I hope I can inform you also in the future about recent events in Germany and give you a little impression of what is going on here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.